the Ultimate X, probably the most well-known of all the gimmick matches that TNA innovative. How does that come to be, and why is it so difficult to keep the X up on the cables?
Well, and I think it it became not difficult, but I think we had a couple of trial and errors that we learned kind of the hard way. The image that's being shown right now on the X, we took the actual belt um, and put it up there, and wrapped it around the X, and the actual X Division belt stayed up there. The entire concept kind of came out of a creative session, and it's, hey, let's have a ladder match without a ladder, because I think probably the most famous ladder match coming out of the gate was WrestleMania 10, Shawn and Razor. And time went on, but very dramatic, so much story that goes into it, and it kind of makes sense that the story can be pretty easy to understand, that the belt's held up or however the story is. So the X Division, we always had 3-ways and 4-ways and 6-ways and 6-packs and all that. So that was kind of the genesis of all the thought processes. Eventually we got to hanging an X up there that symbolized, what we were doing. And again, trial and error, startup promotion that evolved sometimes slowly, sometimes not so slowly. But I loved how innovative, and I don't want to just say one name, two name, three J, like AJ or Chris Daniels, or I mean, I
An
can.
AJ bump. The first big AJ bump was bananas, was it not?
People went, but that's what I'm saying. You just recalled it like that, which is
Yes.
cool. But the Ultimate X match, in a lot of ways, kind of gave that to me at the real core of it. Our fan base goes, that's ours, and it is ours, and nobody can take it away from us. It's the first time we've ever seen this kind of match. That I think it just kind of built equity in the brand.
Elevation X between AJ and Rhino was really the next step. I don't know that it caught on as much as
No,
the Ultimate X did, but look at the visual. If you're watching along with us over on YouTube, seeing these guys crawling across the top of this, I mean, here's a little bit of trivia that I think a lot of our listeners may not know. When I look at this, I can't help but think of a scaffold match. When I think of scaffold matches, I think most of our listeners think of the Night of the Skywalkers for Jim Crockett Promotions, but that was in the mid 80s. But there's probably a trivia note out there somewhere about scaffold matches in your family, huh?
how about old Jarrett doing, to our knowledge, first ever scaffold match in Louisville, Kentucky? I think old Corny tells the story much better than I could. But no, and when you go back and watch the highlights of it, it's all story. They didn't do hip tosses and
Yeah.
backdrop.
Yeah.
It's all the threat of, oh my God, somebody's going to fall, and it's going to be a catastrophe. As things evolved, But the Elevation X, in theory, it sounds great to market and everything, but it really took away what made those guys so fantastic, is their off the charts moves. Really, Elevation X is a fancy way of saying a unique scaffold match, and
Yeah.
scaffold matches are hard to create action. It's all drama.
Perhaps the one that you're most synonymous with when we think about gimmick matches, King of the Mountain. And it always seemed to be based around you and the world title. Was the branding of that match important? Is this the best built match in TNA history as far as the gimmick match goes? Or talk me through the King of the Mountain match. I mean, you sort of said it's like a reverse battle royal. Talk to me about this.
Well, maybe not a reverse battle royal. The thing that, and I think,
A reverse ladder match, I mean.
well, the reverse ladder match was the Ultimate X.
Yes.
I mean, no. You're right. King of the Mountain. The Ultimate X was a ladder match without a ladder. That was that. But you're right. The King of the Mountain was a reverse ladder match.
Yeah, yeah.
But with 5 guys in it, just kind of deducting. And on the one hand, people's like, oh my God, that's the most confusing match in the world. I think the sales point, and TNA would always do a much better job than I can, is the way you win the match is you hang the belt by climbing a ladder
Yes.
15 feet in the air. And then you take the next layer. Well, how do you become eligible to grab that belt? Where does that come from? Well, you got to get a pinfall. Okay, if a guy gets pinned, does he just lay there? I can just remember kind of having the different conversations. Okay, you got to get, so how does all this, does it start? I mean, we could really go in rabbit holes. To go on record, the Ultimate X match, I think, is TNA's best. We're calling it. That's what this show is. Gimmick, best stipulation, best gimmick match. I believe it's the Ultimate X match. I think King of the Mountain. We created a lot of drama through the years. AJ was great in them. Abyss was fantastic in them. The stories that we did at them, Earl and Larry Zbyszko, and a lot of ways to go in and out of it. It could become very dramatic when two different guys at different stages take a pinfall. They have to be put into a penalty box for 2 minutes. It's easy to understand once you start watching it, but there was a narrative online, and I guess the NXT did something recently that had a flavor of that. Again, it's trying to be innovative without crossing the line of confusing them and losing them. And that's, like I said several times today, easier said than done. But the King of the Mountain was always centered around the World Heavyweight title match. It was we wanted to create a signature heavyweight title match step. And just like we did, the signature for the X division was the Ultimate X. King of the Mountain was for the heavyweights.
We're only about halfway through these gimmick matches, so we'll cut it off there. I sort of teased what we were getting to next, the reverse battle royal. We'll talk about that, the Dub Cup, and so much more. We'll table all of our fan questions too, because we got a ton about some of these gimmick matches, but we'll cover them all before we hit the questions. And speaking of covering them all, we're going to be covering all of 2023 next week here on the show.
Oh boy.
Talk about all the craziness that was the year of wrestling in 2023. Of course, we're going to talk about your professional career in 2023, but we'll also talk about some of the lives we lost. Terry Funk, Bray Wyatt, the Iron Sheik, Lanny Poffo, Jay Briscoe, Billy Graham, and of course your father, Jerry. And we'll even do like a little top 10, Double J's top 10 moments of 2023 that are going to have an impact on the wrestling business. Speaking of business, it's picking up. If you're looking to advertise on our program, advertisewithjarrett.com can hook you up. If you're looking for men 25 to 54, we got them. There's a reason you hear so many of the same sponsors week after week after week. It really works. And we would love to go to work for you at advertisewithjarrett.com.